Hello everyone, my name is Carly Gotts and I am the General Manager for Botanica. Today I'm joined by garden designer and botanical guide Anthea Guthrie. Welcome, Anthea.
Hello Carly, lovely to see you again.
And you too. Thank you so much for joining me today all the way from beautiful Wales. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about the Chelsea Flower Show. This year's Chelsea was a landmark event in the show's history, and I'm fascinated to hear more about it from you.
Well, first of all, it was in September, which for you, I guess you're into your lovely spring now and going into summer, but for us, it's bang on the wrong end of the growing season. So all the plants, all the trees, everything had to be changed. All the designers were faced with this big challenge. How are they going to produce a Chelsea show garden when really most of the plants have stopped growing? And if they've stopped growing, how do you put them into a garden and to make them naturalize and make them look like they've been there forever? It was a very, very big ask, a very big ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, incredible feat. And it's the first time it's ever happened, I think, in the history of Chelsea Flower Show to be in autumn. So amazing to see. So you worked on a garden. Can you tell me a bit about the garden that you assisted with this year, Anthea?
Yes, I've done 2 gardens already at Chelsea. They were both what we call artisan gardens. So they're very natural gardens, tend to be set in the country. They're not the smart urban gardens that you also see in another section of the show. And the one I helped with was the Guide Dogs for the Blind 90th anniversary garden. And it shows, it illustrates really the story of how guide dogs began, which was as a result of the First World War, because injured soldiers came home and somebody hit, I don't know who it was, but somebody hit on the idea of training an Alsatian puppy to be the first guide dog. So that's how it all started 90 years ago. Yeah, it was a fascinating garden. So it illustrated that by showing a soldier made out of barbed wire, the statue, sitting with his head in his hands like this, with his First World War helmet on, in a cave in this darkness, and then a path coming out of the cave, and another figure, not made out of barbed wire, but out of shiny galvanized wire, with this Alsatian. Strolling along this path and then through a gate into the world. So that was the idea of the garden. It's a fantastic idea, designed by some very old friends of mine, because if you get to do a lot of show gardens, which I do, there's a sort of circuit of garden designers and we all help each other and do, well, Tracy Foster, who's another Botanica guide, and I do, and Sue Thomas. I mean, we call ourselves the gallivanting gardeners. You know, we go with Botanica. It's just lovely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, it really gives me goosebumps hearing about the garden, and that's what I love about it, because it really tells an interesting story, and that's what I love about Botanica tours and when we travel with botanical guides like you, because you do bring the story of the gardens to life, and that's what people love and remember so well. So what were some of the standout gardens that you saw at Chelsea Flower Show this year? And was there any new trends that you could see emerging?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot more sort of autumnal. So the standout garden for me was the one that actually got best in show, the big show garden, which was the Gwangju garden. I hope I've pronounced that right, which was a garden paid for by the government in Gwangju. And they have gone from the most polluted city in the world, in China, to the cleanest city in China over a very few years. And the idea behind that garden was that there was shelter for wildlife, there were places where people could congregate, there was a pathway where people could walk. Can you hear my cuckoo clock?
I can, it's beautiful.
Yes, sorry, I meant to turn that off. And it was a city, it was like a modern city park. So it was a very good idea, and it was very, very well executed, really well executed. Yeah, it's a fabulous garden. terrific garden. And then the other one was the other artisan garden, which was next door to the guide dog's garden, which was called the Dusty Forge. And they had a real forge inside the cottage with thatched roof, and it was fantastic, and all the tools, and there were the bellows with this fire in the middle of the building, in the forge. It was astonishing. Yeah,
you've never seen such amazing beauty. Chelsea Flower Show is incredible. What is produced in such a short amount of time that it looks like these gardens have been there forever, but yet they've been built over 2 weeks.
Absolutely, and the pictures that you can see will show, because I was on the show 1 week before it opened, so you can see all those organised chaos, I guess, scenes of gardens partly built. And then 7 days later, the show opens. So you've got to actually get it finished before the show opens, so that everything can sort of settle. So from these pictures, I would say 4 or 5 days later, that's all you've got to get them finished. And I have to say, one of the most hilarious teams that I've ever seen was when Australia won the Best in Show a few years ago, because those guys used to go out on the sauce the night before and they'd come in, looking a little bit worse for wear, but they'd get on and do everything, and they were quite astonishing. And everybody thought, oh my God, they're so hungover, how are they going to do this garden? And they got the Best in Show. It was astonishing. Yeah,
I know, and on Chelsea's 100th year anniversary too.
I think. How did you rob us of that? Gosh,
I don't know. I know. So, was there any trends or anything that you saw kind of emerging from Chelsea Flower Show this year?
Well, I mean, the plants that they used a lot of them were things like grasses, which are at their best at this time of the year, and it was really nice to see how September gardens can still look really lovely, really pretty, and the grasses were just gorgeous. And I mean, I love Pierre Udolph's gardens, and I think that people have taken inspiration from those lovely perennial gardens. And the trend is wild, really, for seed heads and grass heads. And I mean, the one thing that was missing for me, though, I grow a lot of chrysanthemums, garden chrysanthemums, and it was so weird. There wasn't a single chrysanthemum on any show garden. It was quite strange. But lots of things like Rudbeckia, seleniums, Monarda, those sort of colours, very different. Yeah. The autumnal colours are not the green, white, purple, pale pink, roses, all the things that we're used to seeing in Chelsea. It was very, very different. So dried stuff. Dried arrangements are really trendy here now. Are you?
Wow. Here, same here. Very trendy. Yeah. It's they're in all the shops.
Yeah.
Dried arrangements, buttons, and the cats' tails and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really made a comeback, which I love. I love that. So. Yeah. Oh, it's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Anthea. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you again. And we are really looking forward to coming back to Chelsea Flower Show, having you be botanical guide for us again, and take our travellers off to see this amazing event, which everyone must see at least once in their lifetime. So thank you so much, Anthea.
It's been an absolute joy, and good luck with the rest of your lockdown. I'm so sorry to hear you're still locked down, but it'll make people even more desperate to get out and go and see a bit of the world. But you'll be very welcome back to Chelsea.
Thank you. We can't wait. Thanks, Anthea.
Me too. Bye.
Thank you.